If you want to shut a room up, you just mention that you have anal cancer and it goes quiet, and people often even will change the subject. They don't want to talk about it.
Her name is Michelle Longabaugh, and she has anal cancer. Now, I met Michelle when I was told I was on her bucket list of people she wanted to meet in case she died. Well, that's never happened to me before, so we met. And when I heard her story, I thought she should share it. All cancers are bad. Anal cancer, though, seems to be worse because of its location and stigma. But she's incredibly open about it because she wants to help others. So for nearly 2 years, she's been living with the cancer and with an uncertain future. Michelle Longabaugh grew up in Johnson City, New York. Had a normal childhood with the usual fond memories. Now she's one of those people you immediately like. A warm, outgoing personality, a reality-based optimist with a sense of humor. Married with 3 children, life was following the script.
People get married and you stand up there and you say for better or worse, and in sickness and in health, they don't know what they're saying until you're really in it for better or worse in sickness and in health.
Michelle had what she thought was a bleeding hemorrhoid. The doctor disagreed.
I will never forget the look on his face, and he looked at me and said, "This is not a hemorrhoid."
It wasn't. It was stage 4 anal cancer.
Wow, I mean, it was a speechless moment for my husband and I. I remember literally my mouth hanging open and not being able to shut it. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
I hadn't thought about it in a while.
I understand.
But as for that day, that was maybe the worst day of my life.
Michelle's husband, Jerry Longabaugh, is principal at Eisenhower Middle School in Goddard.
At that point in time, we only had each other. That's how tough it was. It was like getting hit with a Mack truck.
I was the lowest I felt like I'd ever been. I felt so hopeless just at that moment.
Anal cancer is rare. It affects about 5,000 people in the U.S. each year.
So like a metro area like Wichita, you're going to probably see around 15 cases a year.
Dr. David Johnson of Wichita is Michelle's oncologist.
The interesting thing about anal cancer is that the treatment is relatively short but very intense. It's a tough go.
Despite her smile, as the doctor noted, these treatments were difficult for Michelle. According to the Mayo Clinic, these are some of the risk factors for the disease, including the sexually transmitted HPV virus. But Michelle says that doesn't describe her.
I didn't have one risk factor. Not one solitary risk factor. When they told me that there was a possibility that maybe in 3 years I wasn't going to be here, I'd made up my mind at that minute I wasn't going to waste any more time. It's being in the moment, not just going through the motions.
Recovering from the chemotherapy, Michelle wanted to get back to life as usual. She's a nurse and a businesswoman. She and a business partner sell sophisticated medical devices to doctors and hospitals, so getting back into the swing helps. But not knowing the future is difficult, especially with her college-age kids.
When you get cancer, everyone in your family gets cancer. I said, "You can do something for me to make me better." And they said, "What, Mom? We'll do anything." And I said, "Stay in school, get good grades, and don't give me anything to worry about." And all 3 of them did that.
Michelle lives 4 months at a time. That's how long she has between scans that will tell her if the cancer has returned.
One bad scan could be Michelle's life.
I went with her to her last CT scan. The barium, well, it doesn't go down well, but it's necessary, and she makes the best of it.
I just think to myself, there's nothing I can do to change what's going to be on that scan. There's not one thing I can do. I feel like I buried my head once because of this, ignoring the symptoms, and to not do a scan would be like a relief, but I can't bury my head. I have to know.
A hug from best friend and business partner Marie Maloney as the wait for results begins. On Hatteberg's People, last night we learned about anal cancer and Michelle Longabaugh's 2-year battle with this rare disease. Now, following treatment, her health improved, but she lives life 4 months at a time. Now that's the time between her CT scans. Well, last night we watched as she received her latest scan to see if the cancer had returned. Well, tonight she gets the results. The hardest part is always waiting for the news of what the scan did or did not show. Michelle keeps busy with small things like wrapping a birthday present for her mother-in-law.
I guess when you're faced with the fact that there's a chance that you could die, you realize how much you underappreciate the little things that are enjoyable to do.
Her husband Jerry's work as a middle school principal keeps, of course, his mind active.
And sometimes that unknown just kills you, and anybody who's been through this knows that.
This was when we went to see Dr. Reed.
The unknown
So
is
that's what I
about to
did
become
on
the known. A week after her CT scan, the doctor will tell her if her cancer is back.
There you are.
A lot of times you can tell by just the patient's facial expression when you walk in how well they feel.
It's nice to see you.
You can walk in, look at the weight, you can see how the patient's demeanor is, and you can kind of get an idea how they're doing and how that fits in with the test results.
This is all right stuff to complain about, right?
With professional subtlety and near art form, Dr. Johnson tells Michelle and Jerry the scan results.
You look great, your weight looks good,
Good.
your blood work looks good, and your scan looks negative.
It was the best news.
All right.
All right?
I'm liking it.
The scan was clear.
Thanks, Dr. Johnson. Yay me.
But there will be another scan in 4
Just
months.
trying to fly under the radar and stay cancer-free.
You are cancer-free.
That's so great.
But as all cancer patients know, living with it, not knowing if it will return, is difficult. And since she was diagnosed, Michelle has kept an intimate blog. It's called I Have But What? In it, the innermost details of her feelings and thoughts. And when weather permits, she writes in her quiet place, her front porch. One entry remembers when they first got the cancer diagnosis. She writes, Jerry and I look at each other in stunned silence. I begin to cry, and so does he. We hold each other, and this is a precious moment in my life. I know it sounds odd, but it is. Me and my husband on the same emotional ground, with nothing to cling to but each other.
Wow. I mean, I can read my own pain in that.
Sometimes I was heaving and retching so hard my sister said she expected to see my body invert on itself and disappear into the toilet. I felt such despair and anger at those moments.
That nobody deserves to have it.
Out of control, scared, I would sob between heaves, begging God and anyone who would listen for mercy. My sister would stand by me, her hand on my back, whispering encouragement, murmuring words of comfort, and crying with me.
I think that's why my blog's so important. And I'm able to articulate it so that if somebody reads it, they know who I am as a person and not just, you know, the lady that had anal cancer.
There were two things that Michelle wanted from me. That number one, she was treated with dignity throughout the whole situation, and that God's light would shine through her. That was tough.
But we have talked pretty seriously about what it would be like for him and our children if I weren't here.
Like you said, we'd like to have a lot more time together, but
We'll take what we can get 4 months at a time.
4 months at a time.
4 months at a time. We take what we can get 4 months at a time.
Yeah.
And it's the best 4 months we've ever had.
Yeah.
We live it like it's going to be the last 4 months we've got, and then if my cancer comes back, we know that times are going to get tough again. I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid. I just don't want to.